Now we will start another new chapter that is on networks model. In this particular chapter, we will mainly targeting two kinds of methods. First is called CPM, another is called PERT. CPM stands for critical path method and PERT stands for program evaluation and review techniques. Both of these network-based methods will help us in planning, scheduling, and control of the project. So if we say project, so we can define it as a collection of interrelated activities, and each activity consumes time and resources. So if we take any example, such as the Alcharinga, which is one of the festival here. So when we have to organize such kind of festival, then we consider this as a project. To finish this project, there are certain activities we start a well before time, and after certain time the other activities we do it. So we call it as a planning. Now when there are multiple events that will be happening in the Alcharinga, so what we do here is we can plan them, we can schedule like what are the programs can be done, and we can even control when to start and when to finish. So if we consider Alcharinga as a project, then there are so many interrelated activities. Some activities has to be done at the beginning, some activities will be performed parallelly, and some activities will be done at the last. So correlate these activities when we are performing. So these activities consume time and resources. In this particular chapter, we will consider the time that will be required for these activities. The resources such as fund, those we are not going to consider it. Now the CPM and a PERT, they have a various applications in mechanical, civil engineering and other domain, because whatever the task we do, that is always a part of a project. So in this case, if we are working on a project or we want to start a new project, then the first question that will be asked that how much time it will require to finish the project. Once we know, then the second task is, since there are various interrelated activities, how we are going to schedule them and how we are going to control them. So the CPM and a PERT will help us to make such kind of planning, scheduling and control of the project. Now if we take a difference between CPM and a PERT, CPM assume that the time that is consumed by any of the activity, that is constant, it is not going to change. But in PERT, we assume that there could be some delay or some activity can be finished before time. So there is some kind of uncertainty that is available. And in that uncertainty, if we have to find how much is the project time and what could be the delay, etc. So as we understood, the objective of CPM and a PERT is to provide analytical means for scheduling the activities. So how we do that? First of all, we have to identify all the project activities and correspondingly how much time they need and what are the relationship among these activities. Once we do, then we try to make a network. As you can see, there are some nodes and there are some arrows. Once the network is done, we perform some network calculations, and those network calculations will help us to schedule those activities. And if there is any feedback, that we can take it to the network. There are certain network representation we have to learn before making the final network for the project. So the rule one is each activity is represented by one arc. Arc means when you see such kind of an arrow with an arrowhead, so this is called an activity. So one activity will be represented by only one arrow or an arc. Second rule is each activity must be identified by two distinct nodes. Now here, if we take these two, A and a B, now these two activities are concurrent activities. They are starting at the same time, they are finishing at the same time. Now, since they are concurrent activities, they have the common starting and the end and the finishing node. In this case, whenever such kind of situation is coming, we always introduce a dummy activity so that we are going to get a unique representation of concurrent activities. So we have to be careful when we deal with the concurrent activities. So for the given example, when we have A and a B activities which are concurrent, we can write as from the node 1, both the activities are starting. Now 2 and 3 are distinct node and these two are connected by dummy. Dummy means it is not taking any time, any resources, but the concurrent activities can be represented in a similar manner. In the same way, if I want that one we are starting at node 1, B activities is starting, and then we have a dummy node, dummy activity, and from 2 to 3 we have an activity A. So either I can use this or this, so we have a choice. Moreover, I can also introduce dummy activity in this way or in another way. All the representation are correct, only we have to make sure that we can use any one of them for the concurrent activity. The rule 3 says for the network representation is we have to maintain the correct precedence relationship. The following question must be answered as each activity is added to a network. So let us understand what we mean by precedence relationship. So for example, when you have come to IIT G campus, you started your study from the semester 1, year 1, and after that you are going to the semester year 2 and so on. There are some courses for which we have to complete the previous courses. So such kind of a relationship is there. For example, you are learning one course either in your third year or a fourth year, for which the prerequisite of the course you might have learned in second year or a first year. So this prerequisite will become the precedence relationship. So in this particular case, there are three questions. What activities must immediately precede the current activity? Meaning that when the previous activity is finished, then only the current activity can start. Second is what activities must follow the current activity. Now in this case, when we are when we have the current activity, so as soon as this current we can start the new activity. The third is what activities must occur concurrently with the current activities. So we have understood from the previous slide. So A and a B are concurrent activities, and that is what we have to find it out. So when we are going to answer these questions, so we can find out the relation if any relation exists between the activities. So let us take an example here that activity C starts immediately after A and a B. That A and a B that must be completed. Activity E starts only after B has been completed. So look at the diagram here. So here we have a one node, A, B, C and E activities are given to us. Now activity C starts immediately after A and a B. So A and a B are finishing at that node and the E is C is starting. So this is correct. But the second equation says that activity E starts only after B has been completed. Now look at A and a B. Now look at E. So B is finished, so C can start. Now the question is whether this particular network representation is correct or not. So let me put two cases. Suppose the finishing time of A is 2 hours and finishing time of B is 5 hours. So A is finishing in 2 and B is in finishing 5. So at node we have, say for example, 5. After 5 the C will start, so the first condition is satisfied. After 5 E will start, the condition 2 is also satisfied. So it means this is correct. But if I take another case, suppose A takes 5 hours and B takes 3 hours. So this means B will be finishing in 3 hours and A will be finishing in 5 hours. Now, if we look at the node, so this means that the C can only start after 5 hours because A will be finishing by that time and B has already finished. So the condition 1 is satisfied. Now look at the second condition. A will be finishing in 3 hours, B will be finishing in 3 hours, A will be finishing in 5 hours. So this means E can only start after 5 hours. Here, if we look at this statement that the activity E starts only after B has been completed, meaning that since B is finishing in 3 hours, so E should also start after 3 hours. Why we have to wait for 5 hours when A has to? So looking at the case number 2, we can say that this particular network is incorrect. In order to make it correct, what we can do is we can introduce this dummy activity. Now again, if you take both the cases of 3 and 5 hours, so C will start when A will finish, and when B will finish, E will start. But the C can start when the D, so you will get time from a D. So D is a dummy activity, is not taking time. So when B will be finishing, then only D will start. So what you can say that C depends on A and a B, and E depends on only B because it has no relation with A. So looking at these two statements, when we are going to make a network, we have to be careful how we are going to satisfy these conditions, and if needed, we can include some dummy activities as per the present example. So let us understand the CPM with an example. Here, a publisher has a contract with an author to publish a textbook. The simplified activities associated with the production of the textbook are given below. The author is required to submit the publisher a hard copy and a computer file of the manuscript. Develop the associate network for the project. So here the project is the book publishing, and while publishing the book, there are various activities which are written in terms of A to J. And for all the activities, the precedence relationship is there. Precedence means unless and until the previous activities are not finished, we cannot start the new activity. So for example, activity E can only start when A and B has to be finished. Similarly, the other activities. Duration of each activity is given in the last column of the table. Now look at the A activity, which says that manuscript proofreading by editor, B is sample pages preparation, C is book cover design, and D is artwork preparation. Now if we look at ABCD based on the precedence predecessor relationship, we can see that these activities can start at any point of a time because they don't have any precedence thing. However, the E can start when A and B will finish. F can start when E will finish. G can start when F will finish. H can start when D will finish, and so on. So looking at this particular relationship, let us first identify let us construct the network for the given problem. So as per our understanding, ABCD can start at any point of a time, and for E, A and B should finish. So we are getting some kind of an idea that the first precedence relationship is based on A and B. So let us assume that we are starting from the node 1. Now when we are starting from node 1, there are an A and a B are concurrent activities. So we are going to introduce the dummy activity. So from 1, you have a A and a B. We have a distinct node 2 and a 3. They are connected by a dummy activity. So you remember that in previous slide, we understand that if A and a B are concurrent activities, we can represent with the help of dummy activity. Now we know that A and a B both are finishing at node 3. So once they can finish, then only E will start. So here we will introduce the activity E. Thereafter, we will see that when E will finish, then only we have a F. So from E, we are going to have a F. Now, after that, G will be finished when G will be starting when F will finish. So F is finishing at 5, so we can have G now. Thereafter, we have activity H, and that can only start when D will be finished. So as of now, we have not drawn the activity D. So let us draw the activity D now. Now D has finished on the node number 7. Now we are going to have the activity H. So now we are not getting the idea whether the H activity should be connecting to 6 or we are going to have a new node. So there are two possibilities. So what we can see that at activity I, G and H should finish. Now this is giving us an idea that G and H should have a common node when finishing. Now G is finishing at 6 and H also finish. So since it should finish at the common node, so we are introducing H like this. So both the activities are finishing at 6 so that I can start. Now from this particular table, we know that I should finish now. Now at the last activity, which is J, it says that C and I should finish. Now we have not introduced C as of now. I is finishing like this. So since C and I are finishing and then only J can start, so we can make a common node, say 8, where activity I and activity C are finishing, and then we have an activity J. So this is the way we are going to draw the network diagram. So you need little practice to understand the network diagram so that you can make a correct one. Here it is important to note that many a times we introduce dummy activities which we don't need it. So when we are going to make such kind of a network diagram, we have to be careful that the number of nodes which we have in this network should be minimum, because when we are introducing the dummy activity, then definitely the number of nodes will be increasing. Now, since the network is ready, now we have to understand how to make a critical path. So this is done with the CPM method. So we are going to construct this time schedule of the project with the help of CPM. So that will help me to calculate the total time needed to complete the project. So once we find it, so we have two types of activities. So we have drawn the network, we will be performing CPM. So based on the CPM, there will be two types of activities. One is called critical activity, another is called non-critical activity. So the critical activity says that there is no leeway in determining its start and finish time, meaning that the critical activities cannot change its starting and finishing time. Otherwise, the project duration will increase. Non-critical activities are those where we can get some kind of a slack. Means even if we delay a little bit in the non-critical activity to start, the overall project duration will remain the same. So these two activities we are going to find with the help of CPM. So here we are introducing a word called event. This is a point at which activities are terminated and other activities are started. So if I go back, all these nodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are referred to as events. So in a network, it is corresponding to a node as I told you. So for every node, we have this square and then J. This means what is the earliest occurrence time of event J. If we have a triangle, this refers the latest occurrence time of event J, and the capital Dij is the duration of activity Ij. So we remember that activity is starting from node I and finishing at node J. So if I go back, say for example, activity E, it is starting from node 3 and finishing at node 4. So this is called I and a J of an activity. So while constructing the CPM, we need two passes. One is called forward pass for earliest occurrence time and backward pass for latest occurrence times. So in the forward pass, what we do here is we take our node 1 and we assume this is the time equals to 0. And thereafter, when we move forward, we try to find out that when this particular node have the earliest occurrence time. This we are going to calculate the maximum time from the activities which are finishing at node J. So with the example, we will learn how we are going to calculate this square J. And the last node N, we will be completed, and that will be telling us the duration of the project. In the backward pass, we will be using this triangle. We start with the nth node. Now we have to go back. So here the triangle n, the time is equals to the square n, the time which we calculated in the forward pass. Thereafter, we will be going back. So when we are going back, so we have to see what are the activities that are emerging from the node. So from those activities, when we are subtracting, so we have latest occurrence time minus the duration. There could be many activities starting from the node J. So we will be finding the minimum value, and accordingly we will calculate for every node. At the last node, at the first node, which is node number 1, we should have delta I is equals to square I, which is 0. If it is not, then there must be some calculation mistake in our network calculation. So let us understand this CPM with the example given here. So here we have these 6 nodes and various activities are given. When we are writing A5, this means this is activity A. It has node 1 and a 2, and the duration of activity is 5. Similarly, if you take activity E, it has I equal to 3, J equal to 5, and the activity duration E is 2. So this is, we can consider as a like 2 days or 2 hours. So these are units are given to us. So let us perform the forward pass. So as we know, the forward pass, we will be starting with the node 1. So here when I'm writing a square and inside it I'm writing 0 because we are starting at the 0. Now let us move to the node number 2. Now we can see that at node number 2, we can only reach by an activity A. So the node 2, the earliest occurrence time for node 2 is 5. Why? Because the duration of A is 5. So we will write 5 in a square. Now let us go to node 3. Node 3 can be reached when we move from 1 to 3 or 2 to 3. When we go from 1 to 3, the time of B can be 6. And if we are moving from 2 to 3, then time will become, so the earliest occurrence time of node 2 is 5. 5 and plus the duration of a C. So 5 plus 3, 8. As per our understanding, as we understood that B will be finishing in 6. But when we are moving from node 2 to node 3, it will take 8. So what will be the earliest occurrence time of node 3? That will become 8. So the maximum value 6 or 8, 8 is the maximum value. Now let us go to the node number 4. Now in node number 4, we can reach by using only one activity, which is G. The duration is 8. So we know that at node 2, the earliest occurrence time is 5. So 5 plus 8, that will become 13. That is the earliest occurrence time of node 4. Now come to node 5. Node 5, we can reach from 4 to 5 via dummy activity or from 3 to 5 via activity E. Now if we go from 3 to 5, the earliest occurrence time can be 8 plus 2, 10. When we go from 4 to 5, the earliest time can become 13. Since we have to choose maximum, so the earliest occurrence time of node 5 will become 13. Now from 5 to 6, so at node 6, we can reach via 3, 6, 5, 6, and 4, 6. Now there are 3 activities by which we can reach it. So if I take the earliest occurrence time via activity F, so 8 plus 11, it is 19. If I go from 5 to 6, so 13 plus 12, 25. And from 4 to 6, if I go, then I have 13 plus 1, 14. So that will, so from this, we can see the maximum value which we are getting is 13 plus 12, 25. So the earliest occurrence time is 25. So now since we started with the first node and we are finishing at the last node, this will become the project completion time for the given network. Since we have performed this forward pass, let us perform the backward pass. So the backward pass means we have to start with the last node, which is 6. So in the triangle, I'm writing a time 25. So this is the latest occurrence time. Now from 6 to 5, how we can reach? So we have to see the node number 5. How many activities are emerging? Only one. So we can see that this is the latest occurrence time. If I have to find the latest occurrence time of node 5, so this will become 25 minus 12, so becomes 13. Now go to 4. Node 4, there are two activities which are emerging, which is dummy activity and G activity. So if I take G activity, then 25 minus 1 will become 24. And this latest occurrence time is 13. 13 minus 0, 13. So what is the minimum time? Minimum is 13. So the latest occurrence time of node 4 is 13. Let us look at the node number 3. There are two activities which are emerging. Now activity E and activity F. If I take F, then 25 minus 11. So that will become the 14. So that is 14. Now if I take E, then the 13 minus 2 will become 11. So what is the minimum time? 13 minus 2 is the 11. So we are writing latest occurrence time 13. If I take node number 2, there are two activities which are coming out, that are D and a C. If I go by D, then 13 minus 8 will become 5. If I take 3 to 2, then this is activity 11. This is latest occurrence time 11. 11 minus 3 will become 8. So what is the minimum value? 5. So we are writing 5 here for the latest occurrence time of node 2. If we look at node 1, the activity B is coming out and activity A is coming out. So if I take A, 5 minus 5, 0. And if I take B, then 11 minus 6 will become 5. So minimum value is 0. So we are taking 0 here. So what you can see that in forward pass, we are finding the earliest occurrence time, and in the backward pass, we are finding the latest occurrence time. So this makes the network, and from this duration, we can say that the project duration of this particular network is 25. Now question is, what are the critical activities? As we can see, triangle I is equals to the square I, triangle J is equals to the square J. The difference between the triangle and the square J and I nodes is equals to the duration. If I look at these numbers, we can see that the A activity, D activity, then dummy activity, and then H activity, these activities are the critical activities, and the critical path is going via these red arrows. Now, here, let us look at the activity 4, 6. What is 4, 6? Starting from 4, leaving at 6. So what is the interesting part? That the 4 is now at 4, earliest occurrence time is 16, latest occurrence time is 30. Oh, sorry, earliest occurrence time is 13, latest occurrence time is also 13. G has a duration 1 only, and for 6, latest and occurrence time are given. If I start G as 13, it will finish at 14. If I start G at 14, it will finish at 15. So what we can see that this particular activity G, if I keep on, if I start from either 13, 14, 15, 16, it is not going to change 25. Even if G is starting at 24, the project will finish at 25. So what it signifies that since the activity G, which is not lying on the red color, so this activity is the non-critical activity. And based on this earliest and latest occurrence time of node 4 and a 6, we can provide some kind of a slack. And even though even we provide a slack, the duration of the project, which is 25, is not changing. However, if we look at A, D, dummy activity and H, we cannot change their starting and finish time. Why? Because otherwise it will change the duration of the project. So the red color activities are the critical activities and rest of the activities are the non-critical activities. And as I have explained, similar to G, other non-critical activities have some slack even if there is a delay within certain range. This particular the project completion time will remain the same. As of now, we have used CPM to find out the project completion time as well as to find out the critical and non-critical activities. Now let us construct the time schedule with the help of the CPM. Now the interval this square I and triangle J. So the earliest occurrence time of node I and latest occurrence time of node J. This interval delineates the maximum span during which the activity Ij may be scheduled without delaying the entire project. So let us do that. So first we are drawing the critical activities. So critical activity A is starting at 0, finishing at 5. Immediately at 5, D is starting, taking 8 hours, finishing at 13, and from 13, H will be starting and finishing at 25. So these are the critical activities. We cannot have any slack. Let us look at the non-critical activities. So these are shown in these dashed line. So B, activity B, as per our understanding, B activity, it can start at any point at any time at 0, but it should finish by 11. Then only the other activities from the node 3 can start. So if I do so, the activity B can start from 0 and maximum it should finish by 11. So you can see here. Now the duration of activity B is 6. So how much slack we can give? 11 minus 6. So the 5 unit we can give a slack. So it can start from 0 to 5 and this is there will be no delay in the project. Similarly, if I go back, look at the activity C. It can start from 5, that is the earliest occurrence time, and latest occurrence time of node J is 11. So between 5 to 11. Now since the duration of a C is 3, so 11 minus 3 will become 8. So between 5 to 8, this activity can start. So you can see it can start from 5. It should finish by 11. So in between, this C activity can start and finish. So all the other critical activities, this span is shown. So we can start at the beginning or any time in between such that there should be no delay in the project duration. Now there are different kinds of floats which we use while preparing this time schedule. So the floats are the slack time available within the allotted span of non-critical activities. So first is called the total float. Total float means I and between the node I and a J is triangle J means the latest occurrence time of node J minus earliest occurrence time of node I minus the duration of the activity. Free float of node I between node I and a J is this is the latest occurrence time of node J minus latest occurrence time of node I minus duration of the activity. By definition, our free float can be smaller than and equals to the total float that we will observe with an example. So there are some red flagged activities. So these are non-critical activities Ij. So if the free float is equals to the total float of activity Ij, then the activity can be scheduled anywhere within its latest occurrence time of node J minus latest occurrence time of node J. That is spent without causing a schedule conflict. So we discussed this thing in the previous slide. So in that case, we are going to find out how much slack we can provide. Similarly, if free float is smaller than the total float, then the start of the activity can be delayed by at most free float. This we have to be careful related to its earliest occurrence time without causing schedule conflict. Any delay larger than the free float, any delay larger than the free Any delay larger than the free float but not more than total float must be coupled with an equal delay related to the latest occurrence time of the node J in the start time of all activities leaving node J. So while understanding these floats, we can perform some calculation. So this is the same network for which we have solved. We have find the critical path as well as find the duration of the project. So in this one, we understood that the non-critical activities are B, C, E, F, and G. Their duration are written. If we are trying to find out the total float, so let us take B. So the total float means the latest occurrence time of node 3 minus earliest occurrence time of node 1. So 11 minus 0 is 11 minus the duration is 6. So this is 5. The free float is the earliest occurrence time of node 3 minus earliest occurrence time of node 1. So 8 minus 0 and minus duration is 2. Similarly, I can find for a C and for other activities. If I compare total float versus free float, so I can see that for B and a C, there is a difference in the value of free float and a total float. So this means that these two activities are red flagged activities and the other activities can be delayed based on the time which are given as 3. CPM. Now we will move to the part which is program evaluation and review technique. Now, as of now, the duration which we have considered for the activity I to J, we assume that those activities have a constant time. They are not going to change during the project completion time. However, we understood that the time which we have, that there could be some delay. That delay we can couple with the if there is a resource problem or if there is a political or some geographical or environmental issues, we may not, there could be some delay in some of the activities, and because of that the time which we have estimated that can change. So this part is going to consider this uncertainty into the network. So when we consider part, we actually look for the 3 time. First is called optimistic time estimate. In this occurs when all the executions goes extremely well, so there is no delay. Most likely time estimate means it occurs when execution is done under normal circumstances. And pessimistic time means when the execution goes extremely poor, means there is always a delay. So using these 3 times, we are going to find out the range A and a B. So look at this. A is optimistic time, B is the pessimistic time. So this particular range encloses all possible estimates of the duration activity of an activity. So if we have to calculate the average duration and a variance, we are using the beta distribution. Based on that, the average is calculated as A plus 4M plus B. So A is optimistic, M is most likely, and B is the pessimistic time. A plus 4M plus B divided by 6, and the variance is B minus A divided by 6 square. All these quantity we are calculating with the help of beta distribution. So in this course, we are not going into the mathematical proof to get the D bar and variance value. So we are taking those values directly because our main task is to use these network method for our application. So this is the probability distribution, as I have said, the beta distribution. So here the assumption is the activity durations are independent. That is, the time required to complete an activity will have no bearing on completion time of any activity of the project. So they are independent. And the activity follow beta distribution with TE and standard deviation sigma 1. So if we look at this particular distribution here, so at the peak, this is the most likely time as we have discussed as M. Optimistic time when everything goes well, and pessimistic time when nothing is going well. So this is the way we are actually quantifying these three times, and using the beta distribution, we are finding the average time TE or a D bar, and or the standard deviation B minus A divided by 6. So here this is a variance. So we know that square of the standard deviation is the variance here. Now, if we have to follow the PERT procedure, first of all, we have to draw the project network. How we can draw? First, we have to compute the expected duration of each activity TE. Then we are going to calculate the expected variance of each activity. Then we will be computing the earliest start, finish, latest start and finish, and total float of each activity. Then we determine the critical path and identify critical activities. So at step 4, we will be following the backward and forward and backward path of CPM, and then we will be finding the critical path. Then we compute the expected variance of the project length, and also called that variance of the critical path, which is the sum of the variance of all critical activities. So this is we have to be careful. We are going to take variance of only those activities which are critical. Thereafter, we will calculate the expected standard deviation of the project length and calculate the normal deviation as TS minus TE divided by E. What is TS? This is the specified schedule time to complete. TE is the normal expected duration, and sigma C is the standard deviation. So this particular formula we will be using later in the calculation. Let us take one example to understand the PERT. Here, a small project is composed of activities whose time estimate are listed in the table. So in the next slide, I'll show you the table. Activities are identified by beginning I node and ending at J node. So first we have to draw the network, find the expected duration and variance, expected project length. Then we will be performing some calculations. So this I will discuss one by one. So this is the table which is given. So I, J, so node I and node J are given to us. Optimistic time, most likely time, and pessimistic time for every activity are given. So first of all, we have to find the average time as A plus 4M plus B divided by 6 and the variance. So for every activity, by using these formulas, we can get the average duration and the variance of each activity. Now with this, we are going to calculate, or we are going to draw the network diagram with the help of mean value D bar. So let us look at these activities, their relationship. So 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, we can understand these are concurrent activities. Then we have 2, 5, 3, 5. So from 2 and from 3, so we have a common node, 2, 5, and then 3, 5. Finally, we have 4, 6 and a 5, 6. So 4 and 5 are there. So they will be converging at 6. So the numbers which I have mentioned, like 4, 2, 6, 1, 5, 3, all these are number corresponding to the average value. So let us consider 1, 2, we have 2, we have 1, 3, so average value is 4, 3 and a 5, average value is 6, and so on. Now, since this network is ready with us, I can use the forward pass and backward pass to find out the critical activities. Since we have already performed, so I'm showing you the critical path directly. So you perform your calculation and make sure that you are getting the critical path as 1, 3, 3, 5 and 5, 6. Once the critical path is ready, so we can find the variance. So the variance will be the variance of this particular network will become the variance of the critical activities. So as I have not showed the calculation, the duration of this particular project should be 17. You calculate and make sure that you are getting 17. And what is the variance of the project length? So the variance of 1, 3, 3, 5 and 6, 7. So I have shown in the green color. So 1 plus 4 will become 9. And what is the standard deviation? Square root of a 9. So the standard deviation is 3. Now I'm going to another part of the same question. Here, the variance and standard deviation of the project is calculated in the previous slide. Now, what is the probability that the project will be completed at least 4 weeks earlier than the expected time? So this means that we are finishing the project in 17 days. Oh, so this should be days, not weeks. So this is a typo mistake. So you consider this is as a 4 days. So at least 4 days earlier than the expected time. So if 17 is the time, so 17 minus 30. So what is the probability that we can finish in 13? So we are going to use a formula. This is a standard normal deviation formula, is a due date minus expected date divided by the under root of a variance. So what we are looking is the TS is 13. So we remember this particular formula, we used it earlier. So if we have to calculate Z, so the due is 13, expected is 17. Why? Because we know we have calculated, divided by this under root of variance, which is 3. That gives me minus 1.33. So the probability that the project will be finishing smaller than and equal to 13 days is equivalent to the probability of a Z is smaller than equal to minus 1.33. So since we are using a standard normal distribution, the value of a Z which we have calculated here, we can correlate this probability with this. Since it is negative, so we can write minus 0.5, it is equals to 0.5 minus 5 times of 1.33. So this standard normal distribution table is given to us. So the value of Z is 1.33 and correspondingly probability is 0.4038. We put it here, we can get 9.18, meaning that the probability of finishing the project at least 3 days earlier than expected is 9. So suppose if we are working in an industry and one of the higher authorities or the manager of the company says that, can you finish this particular project in 13 weeks? So you, rather than you say no, you can do this calculation and in front of that him or her, you can say that as per my calculation, which I have learned from CPM and APERT, that this project will be expected to complete in 17 days. However, if we want to finish in 13 days, we are trying our best, but the probability of finishing is only 9.18 because all managers and everyone wants to see the numbers, how confident you are. So this calculation will give you the basis telling that this project cannot be finished in 13 days. Second is, what is the probability that it should not finish more than 4? So don't consider it as weeks. So it's a typo mistake, 4 days. So not weeks later than the expected. This means not more than 4 means it should finish by 17 plus 4, 21. So you remember that 14 is the expected time of completion. So we can say TS is 21. So Z is equals to expected 21, due 21 minus expected divided by 3, which is 1.33. So probability of finishing the project is smaller than equal to 21 is probability of Z is smaller than equal to 1.33. When we put it here, 0.5 plus 5. So since it is positive value, so we are adding here 5, 1.33. From this standard normal distribution for Z 1.33, the P value is given. So we are adding it and we are getting 90.82. So you can confidently say that I'm 90% sure this particular project, even though there could be some delays, I'm 90% sure this project can be finished within 21 days. So these are the calculation that is needed. Everyone will ask when you will be joining any company and they ask for their project completion and other things. So that's why this particular topic has a importance when you will be working in any industry. Come to the last question. That is the last part of the question, that if project due is 19 days, so let us consider it is 19 days, what is the probability of meeting the due date? So what is the probability of not meeting the due date? So basically the due date is 19. So I can find the Z, 19 minus 17 divided by 3, 0.67. So probability of finishing the project smaller than 19 is probability of Z is smaller than or equal to 0.67. From this particular table is from 0.67, we take the value. So we can say 74.86. Suppose if we have to find probability of not meeting the due date, so we can say there is a probability, 25% probability that we may not able to finish the project in 19 weeks. So with this understanding about the CPM and a PERT, we finish this particular chapter. These two techniques are important. Even every industry, they work on scheduling the activity, finishing the project on time. So you will see that if the deadline is given to you when you will be working, the calculation, the backhand calculation were done based on the CPM or a PERT. So I'm concluding this chapter. Thank you.